Hello, empowered woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. And today I talk to the amazing Michelle MRAS, a TEDx speaker, communication trainer, success coach, podcaster, author, and above all, a survivor of multiple life challenges, including a traumatic brain injury in her current battle with breast cancer. She shared how life is a gift, tomorrow is never promised, and every moment is an opportunity to be the best version of you, unapologetically. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal development for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to stop spinning your wheels, trying random personal development resources, and actually boost your confidence to show up fearlessly in your life and business, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I just love hearing your voice because it's just so powerful. But let me start just by saying that I came to learn about you through a mutual friend, and then I attended a conference where you spoke some, and I'm just in love with your message, in love with your life story, and with just what an amazing, strong woman you are and how you are empowering other women with the work that you do. And so without further ado, tell us more about who the amazing Michelle MRAS is.
I'm just Michelle MRAS.
Okay.
Well, I'm an international speaker, coach, author, podcaster, and now TV show host. And a little bit about me is I grew up in the Philippines. I'm a military child. My mother's Filipina. And I didn't come to America until I was about 15, 16. And what a culture shock that was, huh? So I grew up overseas, came to America, culture shock of America, ended up marrying a boy that I met in high school in the Philippines. And all these years later, here I am in Colorado. We retired here. And what do I do with the empowerment of women? Well, I've struggled a long time, and I fought who I was, I denied who I was, and I criticized myself for pretty much 46 years of my life. And what I realized is I wasn't the only one. Mm-hmm. Everyone's doing this to themselves. Yes. And so I came out and said, you know what? I had a car accident. I'm going through a breast cancer battle. And I went, you know what? Life is too short to apologize and not stand up for who you are and not step into your power. So that kind of is what drove me into being an international speaker and an author and a coach, is because life is short. Tomorrow's not promised. We need to get up and do what we want to do now. Figure it out and let's do it. And that's why people like you and I do what we do, to get people to live before it's too late.
Oh my goodness. Just in a nutshell. I love that. And especially the piece of I was fighting and I was denying who I was, and understanding that lots of us do that. What really gave you that light bulb moment of, I need to stop this. I need to figure out who I am so that I don't fight it anymore and just go with the flow?
Well, there was two moments. The first moment was I was in a car accident in 2014 and I obtained a traumatic brain injury. So I lost my frontal lobe over my left ear, the back of my head, and my two hemispheres disconnected. So for over 18 months, I did not walk or talk without assistance. So in that time, I was still cognizant in my mind. So I was replaying everything I'd ever done wrong in my life. I mean, every inner critic came out and said, look at you, you waste of time. You shouldn't be alive. Why do you think you're a mother? I mean, just all these voices in my head degrading me. And I spent all that time arguing with those voices, but I am worthy. I am a good mom. I work hard. I'm a good person. And so I was arguing with these voices for all those months. And when I came out of it, I said, you know what, that's it. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to live for what everyone else told me I needed to be. And so I did that. I started speaking and I started telling people that same story. And what I realized about 8 months later, when I was told I had breast cancer, and they gave me 3 months to live. Wow. I looked again at the life that I had shifted already and realized, although I said it, I hadn't actually done it yet. So with only 3 months to live, I took it in high gear and said, okay, This is what I want long term. I want to leave my mark on this world, and I want to wake up as many people in the world that I can to live a better life, live a fuller life. And so I charged and became very intentional about what I did. And I stopped looking at myself in the mirror. And that was one of the big things I did. I'd look in the mirror and do, God, look at that fat on you. Look at that. I mean, your babies are 15 years old. Do you still have that? I mean, so I was beating myself up. And after after the cancer diagnosis, I realized, even though I went onto a TEDx stage and announced to the world that I was living my life intentionally and that I was going to live every moment like it was my last, I hadn't done it yet. I'd done little bits, but I hadn't done it yet. So when the breast cancer diagnosis came, I went full out. And I haven't stopped yet. So my whole new theme now is stop apologizing for what you're not. Embrace who you are and be the best version of you unapologetically. That's what my theme is now.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And in so many ways, especially the part of you had this awakening, but it was still a struggle to you took some steps, but it could have been more intense. And it took another wake-up call for you to finally say, this is what I need to do. And I think for most of us, especially the ones of us that decide to step out and help others in this journey, it takes something major, kind of like a rock bottom situation for us to be yes, like life beating you down. And you're like, all right, I get the message. I finally did now. It took all of this. And then you start taking these steps. What do you think that it is about this work that you do now that helps them not have to reach that point that you and I did in different levels to say, now it's time for me to give myself up, recollect myself, and go on this path? What is it about that you teach women that you, with your life story, I'm assuming that's a big part of it as well, that helps them kind of gain this little bit of a shortcut? Because I always say our experience is somebody else's shortcut. What is something that you say specifically, or strategies, or what is it that gets people to have that light bulb moment without having to be beaten down like you have
like we did? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a book about it. It's called It's Not Luck, Overcoming You. And I realized in the book, although I gave many stories and then steps on how to walk yourself through your inner critic process so you can achieve more, we are very, very good at reading, saying we understand, and not moving. So where my piece comes in is I'm your accountability. I'm the one who looks from the outside and says, you see all those things that you're justifying? They're not justified. That's you playing with your own mind. And so I talk people through, I guide them. So I'm not teaching, I'm pulling it out of them. Because just like me, all my answers were already in me. I just didn't see it until I got hit by a car. Wow. So basically I guide people through their own thought processes. You've seen it where people say, but why? But why? It's more than that, but it's basically that same concept of pulling more out and making my client work through their own mind. And the reason I say it that way is I've read 15 bazillion books in my lifetime about how to be a better person and how to do this and how to do that. I'm a pretty smart lady. I read a lot. It wasn't until I actually had to face it for real that it actually worked. And that's why with my clients, I basically have them go through scenarios in their life that are smaller and then say, okay, you've conquered it in this portion. Now it's this, it's a bigger version.
Yeah.
You still have what you need to get through it. Use what you got from this. And so I guide them up through what they've already experienced so they can do, oh, I have done that. Oh, I really did do that. And then it makes them realize I've already had the power in me all along, that kind of thing. We need that. We need an outside voice to show us.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. And I am so happy that we're having this conversation right now, because especially throughout this year, I have reached this point of, instead of seeing people in the same space as my competition, I see them as my biggest allies to confirm what I'm already preaching and what I'm already saying. So having you come on and tell me that there is no specific strategy step, because this is what people look for, right? Give me the list, give me the formula, and they think that that's what's going to solve. But at the end of the day, is having that sounding board. It is having that outsider's perspective for you until you can do that yourself and become the observer of your own life. But
Yes.
we always need that coach in different stages of our life and different people with different backgrounds to help us see different stuff. But at the end of the day, the best coach is the coach that teaches you to coach yourself.
Yes, it's your mind. And really that's it. It's breaking through your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, I mean, I'll give you a really short example. Let's say my child, my son, he's like, I am terrified of heights. I just cannot do that. I said, when did you become terrified of heights? Well, because I just get all nervous and everything. I do. You do know when you were 7. Do you remember what you did when you were 7? No. Do you remember climbing up the outside of the stairs 3 stories up? And he says, I remember that. I do. You went up. Yep. How did you get down? He goes, I came back down on my own. I do. Exactly. So are you afraid of heights? He goes, I must not be. I was up there. I mean, and so it was like somewhere in his teenage years, he put it in his head that he was afraid. And once he realized, wait a minute, when I was a little one, I was even higher than the thing I was just afraid of at 24, you know? He's like, wait a minute, I guess I'm not afraid of heights. So what is really my problem with this? Oh, it's not the height. And it was something completely different. And so that's what we do is we work through, what is your real fear? Mm-hmm. The outside fear that you say probably isn't it. It's something deeper. Now, what is that? And then once you figure out what that core of that fear is, it relates to so many other things in your life and it helps you catapult into the next level.
Right. It's the same concept. It's just once you really understand what it is, you can apply it to different things.
Yes, and your brain is amazing.
It really is. And really deconstructing those thought patterns instead of thinking that you need something new. It's really just looking at what's already in there, but in more detail. And I want to go back to the word intentional and intentionality, because that is something that I've heard a lot, that so many mentors, coaches talk about. And I don't know if they don't go in depth enough, or if I hadn't been in tune with myself enough to understand what that means. But I would, because there's a lot of that too. It's like you hear something, it doesn't really dawn on you until you're at a certain point where you can actually receive that information at a deeper level. But I think a lot of people just throw words out there that sound cool and they don't really even understand the weight or the meaning because it gets played out. And we hear it a lot, like self-love, empowerment, all these things. It's like, okay, how do I apply this to myself? So I would love for you to say what that means to you and what that looked like, because that's what you said once you had that second situation with the breast cancer is, now I need to be more intentional. What did that look like for you? And what does intentionality mean?
Okay, well, intentionality means to me, I don't willy-nilly life. That's how I used to do it. Basically, I would wake up, no plan, just go. I didn't have a plan for anything. I just kind of did it. And if it happened, it happened, which was a great way to live. I mean, there's not a lot of stress that way. But what I realized in with my brain injury, with the intentionality, when I was reflecting on my past 46 years, I realized that I never had a plan. My only plan was, I would be a good wife and I would travel with my husband when he moved because we're military. I'd be a good mom. And I never planned on what's going to happen when my kids grow up. I didn't plan on what if, God forbid, my husband wanted to leave me. I mean, I didn't have any exit plan for anything. Or what if I got sick? And I'm stuck in my head at the moment doing, what if I never walk again? Gave me a lot of pause. Yeah. So when I say being intentional, I actually said it in my TED Talk. I gave 3 pieces of advice that I learned from my mother-in-law. The first one is you must always have a plan. Life is like a GPS. Just have a destination you want to go to, but be very flexible on how you get there. Don't be so rigid because then you get stuck. You get in that processing stuck mode.
Yeah.
The second one is eat dessert first. My intention is I will enjoy life. I will enjoy the laughter of children. I will listen to birds. I will enjoy sunshine, because when that brain injury happened, I didn't go outside. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. and I couldn't understand half the things that came to me. I had a 3-second memory. I was like Dory from Finding Nemo. So I remember thinking how much I wish I could remember my children, and I couldn't. I couldn't remember the giggles, and it broke my heart. And so eat dessert first is enjoy the little things in life now while you have them. Because I tell you, when I was stuck in my head, it was the little things that meant the most to me. Then the third thing is, it was a quote by Ellen Glasgow. The differences between a rut and a grave are the dimensions. If you find yourself doing the same thing every day and expecting something different, you're building the dimensions of your grave. Life is to live, not to build your grave. So those are the bits of my intentionality that I put in was, I will purposely enjoy life. And we have to say that, because if we just run around and do whatever we want to and we don't have a plan, the next thing you know, you're on your deathbed and someone's telling you, hey, lady, you got 3 months to live. You've got cancer. What happens to a woman or man, anyone who has that diagnosis? Well, I look back and do, oh my God, I wasted 48 years, which is why I say intentional. I want to do this. Therefore, I make a plan for this and I set a goal out to do it. I want to travel the world and I want to see it with my family. I will plan and I put things out into my calendar and I work towards those things. That's what I mean by intentional. You can't just wake up every day and wish everything happens right. I wake up every morning, I meditate, I plan my day, I journal what I thought about last night. I do so much between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. that I do more in that 2 hours than most people do in their entire day. Okay? So when you meet me at a time like now, right now, I'm wide awake and ready to go because I've already had my day. And so many people don't even wake up till about 10 o'clock.
Right.
Oh, I'm so tired. I wonder what I'm going to do today. And then they waste the next 4 hours. That's what I mean by being intentional. Have a plan for every day so that you do not waste your days, because you never know if tomorrow will ever come. And the reason I say that is I had many, many versions of being told I may not wake up tomorrow. And having that death sentence on you every day makes you really realize how important every day is.
Okay. Couple things. And then this last piece of you talking about these first 2 hours in your day really put the nail there. And I'm not going to say the rest of it because we're talking about, death sentences and things like that. But of spending time with yourself. That's what came to me as you were saying those moments when you didn't even have a memory and you couldn't do much because you couldn't walk and you couldn't talk. So it was literally, you were forced to face yourself.
Yes.
And in a very dark context that most people will not go through, or that we wouldn't wish this on anyone to have to go through. And that's what we're talking about, giving people these light bulb moment opportunities so that they don't have to hit certain awful circumstances to go through that. And it can be as simple as those first 2 hours in the day when you are intentionally spending that time with yourself, thinking about your thoughts, thinking about what you want out of life, making it a point to pay attention to the little things and be grateful for the little things. And with that, because you suffered a brain injury, and we're talking about being in your thoughts, being in your head, which most people don't do it intentionally, more so in the negativity of it, like beating yourself up, you're not good enough, focusing on what they're not. I would love for you to share a little bit more about the experience of you even writing your book in those moments, because I know that is such a powerful way of conveying how the conversations that we have with ourselves really shape our lives. And we don't even realize it because we're not forced to, like you were forced to, have those moments of solitude and reflection.
Well, what I didn't tell you about my brain injury is for about 3 hours every morning, I was cognizant. I could speak.
Okay.
When I wasn't tired, I could speak. But as soon as my brain started, analyzing everything around it, you will not believe how much your brain works just by walking down the stairs. Wow. And so by the time I made it down the stairs, my brain would just sputter off and I couldn't think anymore. But what I would do that's where I learned that 2-hour, 3-hour morning routine of talking to myself. I was journaling. I wrote my book. I would talk into my phone, and I would say things into my phone about what I was thinking and what I was dreaming about or what I thought about or what I missed. And so I wrote my book on my phone because at that moment with my brain messed up, I couldn't write because my brain and my eyes and my hands didn't work together. So I would talk into a microphone basically and record myself. So that's why I wrote my book. Now, the reason I say that time in the morning is so important. One, it's before everything else hits you. But two, you know, when COVID hit and people were doing, oh my gosh, I'm locked in my house by myself. I can't do this. How am I going to do this? I need people. I need people. And people were calling me and I went, and what am I going to do? I mean, I don't know what I do. If we lost the internet, I'm going to die. And I do. Here's the thing. Welcome to brain injury.
Right.
Because that's really what happened. I got shut off from the world and I had to be alone with myself. I said, this is the perfect time to find you. Why don't you want to be alone in your house? Why don't you like your house? I said, so if anything is happening in your world and you don't want to be alone with you, figure that out first. Because if you can't be with you, why do you expect anyone else to be with you? Yeah. And then those same people do, but I'm looking for the love of my life and I can't find one. Well, if you don't love you, how in the heck is anyone going to love you? Okay. So number one, this is the perfect time to start figuring out why you don't love you and then love yourself. The second thing is, I don't like my house that much. I don't want to be here that much. Well, then make the space your home, your sanctuary. Yeah. You could lock me in my house for a year and I'd be perfectly happy. I love this house, but it's because it's mine. I created a space for me, painted my walls blue, for goodness sakes. I mean, so it's what I love. Create and surround yourself with what you love and whom you love, because that fosters who and what you become. If you surround yourself with negativity and the things you don't like, you just get more negativity and more things you don't like. So surround yourself intentionally with the things that feed your soul and help you grow into the best version of you, unapologetically. So take that time in the morning. If you have to walk, if you just lay there and, stare at the ceiling and listen to music, I don't care. But be alone with you and get comfortable with it. Because one day, the thing is, we all are going on the same path to an end. Yes. And at the end, we don't die with a group, okay? We're alone. Right. So you need to learn to love yourself, to be alone. I'm not saying you're going to die because of it. I'm saying just it's a peaceful place to be, to know that if everyone else disappeared, I wouldn't be miserable company.
Yes. And oh my gosh, so many things that you said that resonate and that I always talk about, especially when it comes to being alone with yourself, and how the pandemic is really a replica of the brain injury, like welcome to brain injury, totally, because we were forced, again, even though it wasn't an accident and it was global, we were all forced to be with ourselves more. And if you notice that you don't really like that, that's something to investigate, not try to remedy by adding more stuff for you to do.
Band-aids on it. No.
Exactly. And one of the things that I always say is sit down and become your best friend, because you're the person you spend the most time with. So if you don't like yourself, you're in trouble, right? You have to find a way, first investigate why you don't love yourself, and then love yourself. And I'm always talking about self-love. So the fact that you added that little touch there, just made my heart so happy. And I mean, every time you talk, I just get chills, because the power of your voice and the message and the passion, everything just comes together beautifully. And so to wrap up, I would love for you to tell us the resources that you have. So you do have your book, the TEDx talk. I'll put all those links in the show notes, and also how you work with clients. What are some of the options for women that need this empowerment, need this sounding board to show them, to really be that mirror of this is what you're showing. Now go do the work.
Well, there are many ways of working with me. So, of course, I have the 2 books. I have Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, which is based off the TED Talk. Then I have It's Not Luck, Overcoming You, which is what I wrote during my breast cancer, reflecting on my brain injury. Then I have online courses. I have them down right now because I'm revamping them.
Okay.
Because the old version of them, I don't look like that anymore. So for those of you who don't know, if you watch my TED Talk, to now, I've dropped about 200 pounds. So I'm a different human. I live intentionally. So there's that. Then there's bi-monthly calls that we can get onto as groups. And if you have a group, you can come together as a group and we would work together as a group. And then, of course, there's the one-on-one coaching. And so I do business, success coaching, mindset, and all that.
Yeah.
And then I also do specifically speech coaching, getting people onto TEDx's and to share their messages and things like that. So there's many ways. And the best way to find me is my website, and go to Book Michelle, and there's a calendar that you can just kind of drop in and get a 15-minute consult with me. And then we'll find out where you go.
Sounds amazing. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. You're amazing and such a source of positivity and just encouragement. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Blown away is all I'll say. Every time I hear Michelle's story and just her speaking, I get more inspired and encouraged. Don't forget to connect with her. All the links are in the show notes. And also remind yourself of this beautiful message that she shared with you today. Life is a gift and tomorrow is never promised. Be empowered. Until next time. Bye.